Out on the stone steps, Harry turned to the others. Right, here's what we've got to do, he whispered urgently. One of us has to keep an eye on Snape. Wait outside the staff room and follow him if he leaves it. Hermione, you'd better do that. Why me? It's obvious, said Ron. You can pretend to be waiting for Professor Flitwick, you know. Oh, Professor, I'm so worried. I think I got a question 14B wrong. Oh, shut up, said Hermione, but she agreed and went to go watch out for Snape. And we'd better stay outside the third-floor corridor, Harry told Ron. Come on. But that part of the plan didn't work. No sooner had they reached the door separating Fluffy from the rest of the school than Professor McGonagall turned up again, and this time she lost her temper. I suppose you think you're harder to get past than a pack of enchantments, she stormed. Enough of this nonsense. If I hear you've come anywhere near here again, I will take another 50 points from Gryffindor. Yes, Weasley, my own house. Harry and Ron went back to the common room. Harry just said, at least Hermione's on Snape's tail, when the portrait of the fat lady swung open and Hermione came in. I'm sorry, Harry, she wailed. Snape came out and asked me what I was doing, so I said I was waiting for Flitwick. And then Snape went to get him, and I've only just got away. I don't even know where Snape went. Well, that's it, isn't it? Said Harry. The other two stared at him. He was pale and his eyes were glittering. I'm going to get out of here tonight, and I'm going to try to get the stone first. You're mad, said Ron. You can't, said Hermione. After what McGonagall and Snape said, you'll be expelled. So what? Harry shouted. Don't you understand? If Snape gets a hold of the stone, Voldemort's coming back. Haven't you heard what it was like when he was trying to take over? There won't be any Hogwarts to get expelled from. He'll flatten it or turn it into the school for dark arts. Losing points doesn't matter anymore, can't you see? Do you think he'll leave you and your families alone if Gryffindor wins the House Cup? If I get caught before I get to the stone, well, I'll have to go back to the Dursleys and wait for Voldemort to find me there. It's only dying a bit later than I would have done, because I'm never going over to the dark side. I'm going to go through that trapdoor tonight, and nothing you two say is going to stop me. Voldemort killed my parents, remember? He glared at them. You're right, Harry, said Hermione in a small voice. I'll use the invisibility cloak, said Harry. It's just lucky I got it back. But will it cover 3 of us? Said Ron. 3 of us? Oh, come of it. Do you think it will let you go alone? Of course not, said Hermione briskly. How do you think you'll get the stone without us? I'd better go and look through my books. There might be something useful. But if we get caught, you two will be expelled too. Not if I can help it, said Hermione. Flitwick told me in secret that I got 112% on his exam. They're not throwing me out after that. After dinner, the 3 of them sat nervously apart in the common room. Nobody bothered them. None of the Gryffindors had anything to say to Harry anymore, after all. This was the first night he hadn't been upset by it. Hermione was skimming through all her notes, hoping to come across some enchantment they were about to try to break. Harry and Ron didn't talk very much. Both of them were thinking about what they were to do next. Slowly the room emptied as people went off to bed. Better get the cloak, Ron muttered as Lee Jordan finally left, stretching and yawning. Harry ran upstairs to the dormitory. He pulled out the cloak and let his eyes fall on the flute that Hagrid had given him for Christmas. He pocketed it to use on Fluffy. He didn't feel much like singing. He ran back down to the common room. We better put the cloak on here and make sure it covers all 3 of us. If Filch spots one of our feet wandering along on its own. What are you doing? A voice from the corner of the room. Neville appeared from behind an armchair, clutching Trevor the Toad, who looked as though he'd been making another bid for freedom. Nothing, Neville, nothing, said Harry, and he put the cloak behind his back. Neville stared at their guilty faces. You're going out again, he said. No, said Hermione. We're not. Just go back to bed, okay, Neville? Harry looked at the grandfather clock by the door. They couldn't afford to waste any more time. Snape might even be playing Fluffy to sleep now. You can't go out, said Neville. You'll be caught. Gryffindor will be even more trouble. But you don't understand, said Harry. This is important. But Neville was clearly steering himself to do something desperate. I won't let you do it, he said. I'll fight you. Neville, Ron exploded. Get away from the hole and don't be an idiot. Don't call me an idiot, said Neville. I don't think you should be breaking any more rules. And you were the one who told me to stand up to people. Yes, but not to us, said Ron. Neville, don't you know what you're doing? He took a step forward, and Neville dropped Trevor the Toad, who leapt out of sight. Go on, then. Try to hit me, said Neville. I'm ready. Harry turned to Hermione. Do something, he said desperately. Hermione stepped forward. Neville, I'm really, really sorry about this. She raised her wand. Perfectius totalis, she cried, pointing at Neville. Neville's arms snapped to his sides. His legs sprang together. His whole body was rigid, and he swayed where he stood, then fell flat on his face, stiff as a board. Hermione ran over to him. Neville's jaws were jammed together so he couldn't speak. Only his eyes were moving, looking at them in horror. What have you done to him? Harry whispered. It's a full body bind. Oh, Neville, I'm so sorry. We had to, Neville. We have no time to explain. You'll understand later, Neville, said Ron, as they stepped over him and pulled off the invisibility cloak. But leaving Neville motionless on the floor didn't feel like very good omen. In their nervous state, every statue's shadow looked like Filch. Every distant breath of wind sounded like peas swooping down on them. At the foot of the first stairs, they spotted Mrs. Norris skulking up near the top. Let's just kick her. There's just this once, Ron whispered in Harry's ear, but Harry shook his head. As they climbed carefully around her, Mrs. Norris turned her lamp-like eyes on them but didn't do anything. They didn't meet anyone else until they reached the staircase on the third floor. Peeves was bobbing halfway up, loosening the carpet so that people would trip. Who's there? He said, suddenly climbed down towards them. He narrowed with wicked black eyes. Know you're there, even if I can't see you. Are you ghouly or ghosty or wee student beastie? He rose in the air and floated there, squinting at them. Should call Filch, I should, if something's a-creeping around unseen. Peeves, he said in a hoarse whisper. The bloody Baron has reasons for being invisible. Peeves almost fell out of the air in shock. He caught himself in time and hovered about a foot off the stairs. Oh, so sorry, your bloodiness, Mr. Baron, sir. My mistake, my mistake. I didn't see you. Of course I didn't. You're invisible. Oh, please forgive O'Peasy for his little joke. I have business here, Peeves, wrote Harry. Stay away from this place tonight. I will. I most certainly will, said Peeves. Hope your business goes well. I will not bother you. And he scooted off. Brilliant, Harry, whispered Ron. A few seconds later, they were there, outside the third-floor corridor, and the door was already ajar. Well, there you are, Harry said quietly. Snape's already gotten past Fluffy. Seeing the open door somehow seemed to impress upon them all three what they were facing. Under the cloak, Harry turned to the other two. If you want to go back now, I won't blame you, he said. You can take the cloak, and I won't stop you.